Okay, so this is the follow-up to the lift kit, snorkel kit, and radiator relocate I done to the brute force here. This is kind of what it looks like. I did the best I could with it. For never doing one before with these kits, it didn't turn out too terribly bad, although I'll say with the brute forces, to be honest with you, if you can pay somebody to do it, I would probably recommend that. The radiator kit's not bad, but trying to fit these snorkels around, because you have to strip all the plastics and route stuff around. But I mean, it's not too bad, I guess, once you do it the first time. But I'm gonna just talk about a few things that I've done. Let's see. Reckon I'll start with the radiator. This really wasn't that hard. This is kind of the finished product. Well, not 100%, because I haven't quite figured out what I want to do with the reservoir. I thought about mounting it here on the side, but quite honestly, I may just wind up leaving it where it's at, inside of this cubby hole here. I could mount it up here, but I just haven't done anything with it yet. When you move it, obviously you're going to have to splice the fan wire here. Now I decided to splice it up here, and then I had some, I think 14 gauge wire, I think's what that was. Yeah, I believe that was 14 gauge wire. Ran enough, and then what I did was, right here is the actual plug. I cut it about that far, and then spliced all my wire. Gave me plenty of wire. That's the plug. Plugged it in, then come off a few inches, spliced it in, and then ran it up. Same thing with the sorry, kind of jumping around here, but same thing with your vents. This right here is the little vent to the fan. Get around here, you can see right here runs, and then somewhere right through here, run it up there. The radiator, or I'm sorry, speaking of sorry, I'm kind of lost track for a second here. Okay, the Reservoir Overflow, I've got it running up, and it comes right here. Now I don't normally, it's probably not it's not the best idea to have this thing facing you, but there's not much in there, and if it really runs hot, you can, you know, really the best thing to do is to kind of fold this down, something like that, or run it up somewhere else. I just did this for the time being, to get it out of the way, but this thing, it doesn't really ever run hot enough that this stuff's that your fluid's gonna splash all out over you anyway. But anyway, that's just something to think about. What I did with the hose, and what they do is when they send you the kit, they give you just about probably a 3-foot piece of hose, and what they want you to do is keep your existing hose, your stock hose, and then splice into it at a certain point and come on up. Well, I didn't really want to splice into this hose. What I did is I just went to the auto parts store, and bought about 10 foot of hose. I think it's 1 inch inside diameter. I think it may say right here on the hose, if we can see it. I can't remember offhand, but anyway, I got about 10 foot of hose and used one solid piece of hose from here all the way up on one side. And let's see, this to show you. Okay, it goes in down here, right there. You can see the hose goes in one whole piece. I ran it through here, up through there, and then up through here, through the bottom, and in the radiator. Now, one thing you're going to want to do probably is where this hose goes in, where you can see when you make the cuts here. I'm sorry. When you make your cuts here, when you cut out the place for your hose to run through, I took some pieces of rubber that I had laying around and wrapped it around this hose, wrapped it around the hose, and then I put a zip tie around it so that this plastic doesn't eat into your normal hose. It'll eat way into this rubber here before it gets in. And you can see down here, same thing on the bottom. You can probably see it better. I took some rubber hose, wrapped it around my main hose, and then zip tied it in place and ran it through. That way the plastics are going to eat way into this long before into your regular hose. But this is how I ran the hose through there and up. From the other side, the only thing that I could really do was it comes out here, and you can really see what I've done here with it, how the hose runs through, and I've got this other rubber piece that I've wrapped around it and zip tied it. That hose comes down, cut a hole in this plastic up, like you can see, down around through here. You're gonna have to use some zip ties to hold this in place. Down around through here like this, and up into there. That was kind of the best way that I decided to do it without trying to do too many 90s and whatnot. I just kind of went around, took the long way around where the hose is somewhat straight, and just went up that side. So and that's one whole piece also. I didn't really want to have a splice in this hose, and it was like a couple bucks a foot. Wasn't terrible, but I decided to do that rather than splice. I think that would be a lot better, is just use one solid piece for each side. I'm trying to think anything else with the radiator. Doesn't look too bad. These right here aren't too bad. You see how I've got it. They give you these spacers in the bolt. This stuff fits pretty well. Nuts and bolts here. You could probably trim that. I'll probably go back and trim that some. When I took this out, I made sure I cleaned this radiator really good. And it's not a bad design, you know, the wild boar on there. Personally, I'd rather had it like mine over there, to be honest with you. I would have just rather had nothing, where you get full air running through here. But I mean, it's a lot better, and the nice wild boar here, that's okay. But it definitely is a much better than in the stock location under there, where it completely fills with mud and is a pain in the butt to get out. So overall, not terrible. Oh, I will tell you, glad I seen this, because I don't think in the wild boar kit, where your radiator normally sits down in here, hopefully, I want to say it's like right here, and then right here are these rubber grommets. I think that's what they're called. I didn't particularly know that, and they don't say it in the kit, but you need to take these rubber grommets from under here and use them in here, because they don't supply anything. Because I went to fit it in at first and was like, well, this isn't right. So what you have to do is take these grommets out from their location here and put them in here, and then they'll fit right. Just put them inside of this, and then everything will fit like it's supposed to. So that's one thing there. Sorry if I'm kind of moving around a little bit here. I'm just trying to it's been about a week since I done a video when it was tore down, and then I had it back together, and then it's been probably another week. So I can't really remember everything that I went over in my last video, so I'm just kind of covering it here. You may hear some of the same things again, but that's okay. That doesn't hurt. Let's see. I don't think there was really anything else with the radiator. The radiator by itself wasn't that bad. If you were just gonna relocate the radiator and not mess with the snorkels, I would say it's a job that most anybody can do. Just make sure you've got some wire to extend here, and which, by the way, I used butt connections, and I put dielectric grease. I put dielectric grease in there, and then I put the whatever you call it. Use the heat gun, the heat shrink. I used heat shrink over it, and put a lot of dielectric grease, and then taped it back up. So other than this here, other than the overflow, it's done. And then when you get done, of course, you'll have to fill it all back up. Now what I did was I just kind of flushed mine with distilled water, because I actually had the radiator out for a few days. This was not a one-day project. So I just put some distilled water in, flushed it for about 10 minutes, drained it all out, went and got the proper coolant from Kawasaki, filled it back up, and it was good to go. Good to go on that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else of importance. That, not really. If you can find another place to mount your overflow, that's fine, but to be honest, that's probably where it's going to sit. You know, that's probably where it's just going to wind up sitting. So I think that takes care of it for the radiator. And as you can see, it does give you a lot of room to work with, you know, a lot in here. Since I had all the plastics off, I did go ahead and dielectric grease as many connections in here as possible. It's always good to do. Since if you already got all the plastic off, go ahead, dielectric grease all of your connections and all that. So next, I'm probably going to talk about the Snorkel Kit itself. I can't remember what all I talked about in my last video, so I'm just going to kind of briefly go over it all here now. You have to cut a hole. I remember talking about cutting. There's a lot of plastics up under this that all has to be cut away. I think I showed that. This here, they give you a pattern, a stencil pattern or whatever, to try to cut out of this piece. I just said pretty much to heck with that, and just I used a little jigsaw and just cut way on around, and just cut a big area. Unfortunately, I lost the only screw. There's a screw that's supposed to go in there, and I seem to have lost that, but it's okay. Not terribly worried about it. A lot of this was on and off, and then I finally just said to heck with it. I'm just going to cut a huge, because initially I wanted all this to try to fit exactly around this to make it look good, but that didn't take about 2 seconds, and I was just like, to hell with it, I'm ready to get this thing up here. So I just cut a big chunk, and I don't care about these gaps and stuff. Which, one thing that I did not know about these, I'm getting a phone call. Hang on, I have to ignore a message. Sorry about that. Hopefully that didn't mess anything up. But yeah, see down here, you want to have plenty of room anyway. You can see that. Plenty of room for your wires and your vent lines to come through. So this all has to be opened anyway. hopefully you can see that. All right, now speaking of your vent lines, I'm gonna start here with the gas tank vent. They give you a lot of this tubing, and this is how I did mine. Sorry. This is how I did mine, with the clear tubing in here, and then come out here, and then it runs. It's gonna run all through up there and come out probably here somewhere through here, and then comes up. The same thing with your front and rear diffs. The front diff here, I went and used that. I took off the stock rubber one and went with this, run it through up, and also same with the rear diff vent line, wherever it's at. It's on the front. By the way, since I'm back here, I'll just say the lift kit, I did put the lift kit on. That looks good with the tires. So getting all these together, the only thing that I didn't like was how this connected to the actual box itself, so that if you ever want to take your box off to clean inside, you got to unhook your snorkel. So I'm not crazy about that, because on the Suzuki I don't have to do that. But that boot goes, you'll see that it comes out through here, and then it's going to go over there. This is going to be your exhaust. This is your intake. Down there, rubber, that's a rubber 90, comes up here, goes, and then does another 90 straight to the top, just like that. Now, one thing I had to do was zip tie a lot of this, because if you don't zip tie it, there's nothing really in here, and these will sag. They already move a little bit, but there's not a whole lot you can do about that. Once they got run, I put a few zip ties here. I think I put one right here to keep it from sagging down, and I think I put another one here to keep all this nice and tight, because I didn't, with the wheel, you don't want the wheel turning that way and messing everything up. Now what I'm going to wind up doing is getting a smoke test done for this, get it smoke tested and see where all the leaks are. And I don't know, I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I needed to go over as far as the snorkel kit. They give you pretty much everything. They do give you this heat tape to wrap. I'm just kind of wondering how long that's going to stay on. So that's, you know, it's about it. And then getting it all fitted through here was kind of a pain, because these, didn't know it at first, but these actually interlock together. You can see on this side that these will interlock, which makes it nice, because they are nice and sturdy. But getting all this together was probably the hardest part, getting it all through here, cutting out all this, cutting all the plastic out below, putting these on, getting them, actually these are supposed to be equal, but the way it worked out, they weren't all up, but I think it looks okay, because at least if they're kind of uniform with 1 down and 3 up, that still to me looks okay, and I can accept that. So that's pretty much about it as far as the snorkel kit and the radiator kit on this. Like I say, the lift kit on the front is right. Let's see if we can see it from here up there. There it is. And the top shocks. Lift kit. That was pretty easy. And so yeah, if you want to save a couple $100, try to get into it, do it yourself. I would recommend getting a Dremel to cut this. Probably be a lot easier. If not, I did a little jigsaw and just cut, despite what they give you on the print on the their stenciled paper, I would just cut all this out pretty open to start with, or you'll be back cutting and fitting and cutting and all. But that's about all I can think of with the snorkel. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to get it smoke tested and see how well this thing holds up. So I'm just trying to think right offhand, was there anything else? Like I say, I don't like this idea, and I did take some silicone in any place I could silicone around some of these boots here where the rubber boot fit over the PVC. I got a beater of caulk around. Oh, I will talk about this. This was a real pain getting, and unfortunately you can't really see it because it's covered, but it was a real pain getting the this airbox snorkel on. You have to basically, with the riser off and all you have is this, you have to go like under and get it fitted on, or basically fit it on, and then see where well, what you basically have to do is you have to get the on this side where the boot clamps to the PVC, where the clamp boots to the PVC, go ahead and tighten it down and then get everything fit. And then what I did is siliconed all of it and then put it back on. Hopefully I covered more in the last video on that, we'll see. But if not, yeah, this was a pain in the butt and it takes some working around. So what are we, 23 minutes? So yeah, I think that's gonna wind it up. So far we took it out, did pretty good on the trails. I'm gonna have it smoke tested to see where all the leaks are, if any, and go from there. But yeah, that's it. That's it for the Brute Force 750, and thank you for watching.